Mohammed Shehada, Chief of Communications at the Euro-Mediterranean Human Rights Monitor. Mohammed is also a visiting fellow at the Middle East and North Africa program of the European Council on Foreign Relations. So September, just a few weeks ago, the UN Independent Commission concluding that the Israeli authorities and Israeli security forces have committed and are continuing to commit genocide against the Palestinians in Gaza. Yoav Gallant and Benjamin Netanyahu, the Commission said, have incited the commission of genocide and that Israeli authorities have failed to take action against them to punish that incitement. The legal ruling will take years. The consideration of the ICJ and the possible actions that constitute genocide. But so many experts have already determined that it is genocide. And yet, Mohammed, there are still some world leaders who don't want to use the word. Has that reluctance to call it out emboldened Israel?
Yes, absolutely. Until now, what you have is European or Western leaders trying to mainly focus on a framework of Israel violating the principles of international law. But Israel is not trying to obey international law at all because they're not following the rules of war. They're not observing it. That's not what's happening. There's no war. There's genocide, and that has its own logic, its own set of parameters, its own rationale and systematic procedures. And Israel is fulfilling that to the letter. And what you have with European or Western officials, a European leader once said it to me to my face. He said, every time we issue a statement, we say Gazans are starving or Gazans are dying. We don't say Israel is killing, Israel is starving, because if we do, it entails a legal responsibility to do something about it. And until now, it's all about optics. It's nothing about substance. They're dealing with Gaza as this crisis to manage rather than an unfolding crime against humanity. You don't need a ruling of genocide to act accordingly. The mere risk that it could be a genocide, even if there's a 1% chance that it could be a genocide, you need to act accordingly. But what that means for those European governments, for Western governments, is basically immediately imposing sanctions on Israel, not just Ben Gvir and Smotrich, but the entire chain of command. Paralyzing the IDF, going after the Israeli economy, shutting down weapon supplies, weapon imports, and all of it together is to try as much as possible to make it very costly for Israel to carry out this systematic extermination, destruction of a people. But what you have instead is this caricatural, headline-grabbing gestures. Let's isolate Ben Gvir and Smotrich as the most extreme. Let's impose sanctions on literally 2 or 3 settlers. This same European leader, he said, every time we want to impose sanctions on one settler, we get a debate inside the EU with EU member states, EU heads of states telling us, no, for each settler you need to impose sanctions on 3, 4, 5 Hamas leaders. The sanctions on Hamas leader need to come a week before the settlers in order to not create a false equivalency between Hamas and settlers. Settlers are seen still as a higher, superior status. And all of it is just a charade. It's a show. If you look at the sanctions until now, none of the European or Western sanctions imposed on Israel, none has anything to do with Gaza itself. It's all about the West Bank, settlement expansion, incitement in the West Bank. Because if they try to impose sanctions on Gaza, it would incriminate the entire government, the entire chain of command.
Okay, we haven't got time to go into it, but you've already addressed the issue of the West Bank, which Volker Turk, the UN human rights chief, says the actions of not just the Israeli military, but also illegal settlers, is making the future of a Palestinian state increasingly come into doubt because of Israeli actions in the occupied West Bank. Mohammed, I'm told we have to go to other locations, but I know you're with us for a couple more hours, so we'll bring you back on to hear more of your very important analyses and thoughts.